Okay,
All right.
over to you.
Hi, everybody. My
Hi.
name is David Giller, and this is my beautiful wife, Helene Abrams. Many of you, as all of you, on the
Know us.
know us. And tonight is our honor to be the co-host for Manu's Age of Brilliance series. So tonight it's, what is it? Continuity? What is it?
Uh,
Spontaneity and continuity.
Spontaneity
Spontaneity
and continuity. So we're anxious to, like the rest of you, to figure out what that means, or to get a sense of what that means, and I'm sure we will. So we are happy to turn it over to dear Mino.
Dear Minu.
Great, thank you. Yes, and just remember that this is a session that is designed to be interactive. So if you feel there's something coming up for you that you want to bring up, share, or ask, everybody here you can put it in the chat, and David, Helene, look out for it. You'll pick it up, and you come in and ask yourself if anything shows up for you. Okay.
Sounds good.
So, um, I mean, it was interesting. We had two whole sessions, 2.5 sessions, if you like, on Q&A. Um, and today we start our portal opening again. So, so I wasn't entirely sure how or what I would even be talking about. And last night I got that it was spontaneity, and I got spontaneity and continuity. I, they sound like opposite words, being spontaneous or continually doing what you were doing before. And really, what I got when I tune into it is how come? The two things, we're opening both the portals. What does that mean? We are opening both the portal. It's one portal, actually, spontaneity and continuity. One does not fully actualize without the other. So, it is important to be spontaneous from time to time. It keeps our creativity going. And if you are only being spontaneous, constantly starting and starting and starting and starting, but not quite getting across any finish lines and not really accomplishing what that creativity that you just began was intended to accomplish. So, as a soul being, you're left unfulfilled. And if you're continually doing what you've done before and just continually, moving on with that, it can actually become a drag. And then once it starts to become a drag, it eats into your creativity. And you disconnect from who you really are, which is that essence of the creator. And that was like a big epiphany aha moment for me. Like, aha, that's what it means. And that's why the two actually go together. So, we'll do as many as we can today, and then we'll continue until all 12 impacts of spontaneity and continuity portal actually are covered. So, in the age of brilliance, the world really follows those who have that staying power. The spontaneity and continuity is really when inspiration learns to stay. What is inspiration? Inspiration, as I define it, is in spirit, I am stationed. The spirit in which you station is your soul presence. And your soul presence is none other than the divine energy itself. And it is that when you are you are in inspiration, when that spiritedness of you is the one that is expressing itself. I love this phrase, spontaneity and continuity. The impact is inspiration learns to stay and becomes unshakable. When inspiration becomes unshakable, you become unstoppable. So let's take each piece first before we go into the 12 impacts. Let's take spontaneity, defining spontaneity. Spontaneity is inspired action that is arising in real time, not from impulse, fear, or reaction, but from a deep, deep listening. I remember when I shared that, okay, we made the decision that we are going to be moving to Chiang Mai, moving our home base to Chiang Mai with my family, and one of the family members immediately said, well, that was a bit spontaneous for such a big decision. And yes, it was a significant decision. It did not come from impulse, fear, or reaction. It actually came from deep listening. You know something is coming from this spontaneity place when clarity arrives with absolutely zero effort. The next step feels obvious, light, and true, and action simply flows before the mind interferes. Spontaneity really is you as source speaking up. But spontaneity by itself is not mastery. It is ignition, not propulsion. It is that spark that ignites. And this is why continuity matters after spontaneous action. A spontaneous, inspired action is a little bit like this. A spontaneous, inspired action opens a doorway. Continuity is what walks through it. Without continuity, insights remain ahas, beautiful but unexpressed. Momentum collapses very soon into self-doubt. Inspiration actually becomes entertainment and nothing more. Continuity is not forcing repetition. It is actually staying in a relationship with what life has revealed. It's a little bit like spontaneity gives you the signal, and it is continuity that actually gives it the impact. So the core truth we are talking about here in this age of brilliance, and that's why this is one portal. Spontaneity requires continuity to matter, and continuity requires spontaneity to stay alive. So when they are separated, spontaneity becomes chaos, and the outcome becomes a fantasy. Continuity becomes a drag or obligation by itself. But when they are combined, that is when they create a brilliant flow. I mean, if we only did this in this session, this in itself will be hugely eye-opening. Just want to check in with you, David, Helene, if there's anything that is showing up for you already from what I have just shared.
Well, it's operating from your higher self. That's pretty much your soul self, and as much as possible throughout the day to be tuned in on that level, and have
Yeah,
the continuity of that, spontaneity.
yeah,
That's good.
yeah. It was a huge eye-opener for me that, okay, First, when I got that spontaneity and continuity, I thought, okay, two portals at the same time, only to realize actually it's one portal. One doesn't go without the other. The impact of each of them on their own is actually not that fulfilling, and not even the impact that the planet welcomes. And therefore, we feel unfulfilled ourselves. You know, continuity like becomes a drag, and spontaneity by itself can become chaotic. So that was very powerful. And today we are opening that portal for all of humanity. Goes well with the title of your book as well, I think.
Yes. Yes.
The two together. Okay, so let's continue. We're going to go in and zoom in on the 12 impacts. We're going to look at what each impact means, what does it enable, and why does it matter. The first impact that we experience when spontaneity and continuity come together is the trust in self. Only when the trust in ourselves is broken, we actually step out not trusting anyone or anything. So if you feel that you can't trust someone, there is a breakdown in your trust in yourself. Now, when you trust in self, what it means is you act when inspiration arises and you stay with it because you trust yourself. What this enables is inner reliability, and it replaces self doubt. When you trust yourself, you enter a realm of knowing, an inner knowing that you are reliable. And you stop doubting yourself. It replaces self doubt with certainty. And when you have certainty and trust, the pathway of clarity literally opens up. And so, why does all of this matter? It matters because trust is not built by ideas, it is really built by follow through. Spontaneity can create the aha. It is a follow through that really has the impact. So, every time I would prepare or do this work on these sessions, I always look at my own life and I look at where this has showed up in my life. I mean, I'm just dealing with a situation right now, where we as a family have made the decision that, for now, our time as with Dubai as home base is complete. And we've made the choice of moving to Chiang Mai in Thailand. And yes, trust in self is there. So that was a spontaneous um, decision, which is it didn't come from just an impulse of fear. It actually came from a space where we were in this place that actually, the light was different, by the way. I called it the light of brilliance. We came from that space where we were plugged into our brilliance, and we saw that this place became an amazing comrade, amplifying our brilliance. In the 2 weeks that we were there, each day felt like a whole week. So it felt, so we trusted ourselves, we felt that connection to spirit. and that we stayed with it. And the amazing thing is that we come back. I mean, it's one thing moving a home. It's another thing moving from one town to another. It's a completely different ballgame when you move from one country to another. You know, there's so many choices and decisions that are called for. And we are all project managers, all three of us. So I was like, oh, let's create a Trello board, a Trello board, a Trello board to manage all the actions. And we said, okay, let's get together and we'll do a Trello board together. I mean, within like few minutes, less than 5 minutes, the Trello board was done. And when we did a review at the end of the week, half the actions were already completed on it. The amazing thing is, it's like there are lots of action that you have to take. You're relocating. And we have a place, I have a place that I've rented here in Dubai, and my son and daughter-in-law, they've rented their place. All of those agreements are coming to an end in March, which we were going to renew. And our move is not going to happen till the 10th of April. So then lots of like what do we do in between, and what point do we relocate all our stuff, and then how are we going to live? Will we have a bed to sleep on? All that kind of stuff. And it was literally like, I get a message from the people that own our building that we've actually opened up some of the apartments for Airbnb. And I said, oh, wow, this is great. We're looking for an Airbnb for this period of time. Do you have any apartment that will fit 3 adults and 2 kids? They had an apartment. It was available for just the perfect number of days. It's available till the end of March. And for the last 10 days, they have a penthouse, which has got the spectacular view of Burj Khalifa. And that's the time where, there's a wedding, and my sister's daughter is getting married. Vibha's daughter is getting married, Sarah. The younger one, the one who lives in London. And all my cousins are here, and we're going to have a cousins reunion. And I really, really wanted to have a place with an amazing view of the Burj Khalifa, which my son and daughter-in-law actually have that, but they'll be moving out before that time. And lo and behold, we get the penthouse. And because I'm already a resident here, it's not at the price that is advertised on the Airbnbs. It's like I'm only sharing this because, you know, spontaneity is how the decision was made. Continuity is how we continued operating as if we already are there. So therefore, you know, synchronicities started opening up. So and that's what it enabled. It enabled that inner reliability. There's just not an ounce of self-doubt in any of our way of being. Even though lots of people around us is like, the world is moving to Dubai and you're choosing to move out. Yes, we are.
And it also inspires confidence in moving forward.
Oh yeah.
Everything you're saying right now inspires great confidence.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the magic of this trust in self impact that it has. And by the way, there's so much temptation that is coming in the way, you know, even in terms of business. There's a very big conference that's happening in Saudi Arabia, and I wasn't even thinking of going there or anything like that. And lo and behold, there's a couple of very huge business opportunities that have emerged with universities, which means, okay, Monday, Tuesday, I'm in Saudi Arabia. That sort of stuff will be difficult to pull off when we get to Chiang Mai. Now, I could sit here thinking, if this happens, how am I going to deal with it once we've moved? Well, it probably won't be mine to do. Maybe I'm going there to activate these business opportunities. So we have someone who's stationed there in Saudi, you know? Don't know what it is, but it just feels like, you know, it feels just this clarity. in it. The amazing thing is the idea of Chiang Mai was the spontaneity one. Now it's all follow through that is occurring. And whatever requires to be done is actually unfolding with ease and grace. But it is to do with this first impact, the impact of trust in self. I'll continue with the second one, and then we'll pause and see if there are questions. But actually, there was a question from Ananta. So let me just check that. Can you please repeat what you said about not trusting others being a reflection of not being able to trust yourself? Yes. So the lack of trust of self is a whole and complete. I mean, that is really the how it's meant to be. If you're and you are as a human, your innate vibration is a vibration of love, and it is amplifying, and that's just so. So, what's there not to trust in that? It's if you just show up as a human, and when you show up, you actually are also expressing a way of being. The moment a human steps into being, you're naturally being love. Now, if you're experiencing a lack of trust, first of all, it doesn't feel good. So it's like a yuckiness that you're harboring in your body. How does that yuckiness even remain there? Because there is already an anchor inside you of not trusting yourself. And therefore, you are able to magnetize the lack of trust in something else or someone else. That's what I mean when I say that when you don't trust someone else or something else outside of you, it is only a reflection of where you are with trusting yourself. The reality is, when you have that complete trust in yourself, you know that what you have taken on to bring about will occur, will deliver, may not deliver. And if it doesn't, you'll do something else. You simply know that. But if you then start not trusting other people to do their part, you also will see that when things don't work out, you immediately slide into blaming something or someone or even yourself. That's how you know that when you don't trust anyone else, you don't trust you. So all you have to do is to look at where is that lack of trust in myself. That's what I mean. Let me know, Ananta, if that elaboration is helping you address your question. You can just put it in the.
Yeah, I think so. I think that was really good because it's just that whatever anyone else does, if you trust yourself, you trust you'll know how to deal with it and that
Yeah,
you're not attached to it because the only person you can control is yourself, basically. And so you
yeah,
don't anchor in another person's lack of trustworthiness. You just trust you and like respond accordingly to what they're showing you and not put too much energy into it.
yeah, yeah. Very true, very true. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing that. Okay, let's go to the second impact. The second impact of this portal of spontaneity and continuity is creative momentum. Creative momentum. It's not about creating a momentum, it is creative momentum. We are that essence, that soul being essence in us is exactly the same essence of the creator. So inspiration does not stop. Really, in spirit, you are stationed. That does not stop at your first expression of spontaneity. What happens when you combine the spontaneity with continuity, ideas evolve into living systems. And it is these systems and structures that call the impact into being over and over and over again. And this is at the foundation of regenerative. And why it matters is momentum is really how brilliance compounds. Creative momentum is how brilliance compounds. I mean, we'll find out more as we get closer to our amazing relocation. But I was very present to when I entered my third relocation, country relocation. The first one was when I relocated from India to Saudi Arabia. The second was from Saudi Arabia to London. And then the third one was from London to Bali. And actually, when I look at it, at no point, or all of them were in many ways, I mean, the first one was by the way of marriage, India to Saudi Arabia. So it was something that was expected to occur at some point. The move from Saudi Arabia to London was spontaneity and continuity. We didn't need to move at the time. We could have just simply chosen to renew the contract for 5 more years. And we decided to move to London. And I can see, to solidify whether we do make the move or not, I went to London by myself for a week just to explore it. And it was even today, it's amongst the best times of my life. To experience that ability to just simply walk by myself and, see all of these different sights and vistas and have all of these different experiences and walk in the parks in London, take the buses and travel to Stanford upon Avon and all sorts of stuff by myself, you know. It really was, I could see that momentum I could experience my brilliance compounding. And then the amount of synchronicities were phenomenal. It could have been simply a great holiday. And synchronicity basically meant in one of my walks from Trafalgar Square to the tube station that I was going to take the tube to get back to the place I was living in, I come across something called a recruiting agent, a shop which was a recruiting agent. So I walk into that shop and they asked me to share my CV, which I was carrying with me. I gave it to them, and there was like such commotion that took place in this shop. Like 2 or 3 of these recruiting agents wanted to interview me immediately. And even before the week was up, I had like 4 different job offers. I was being paid a very healthy sum of money in Saudi Arabia, and each of these was offering me more than what I was being paid there. And I could have started just the following week, the week uh, after that. Like I go for an interview, get the job offer, and I could have started in 3 days. And one of them was even offering a golden hello. And I mean, of course, that was not what I was going to do. I'd just literally gone there to explore if it was the right decision. But that synchronistic happening was the direct outcome of my spontaneity of, okay, let me go there and experience it. it made me realize that one way or another, we're actually going to be fine. And I was also taken aback by how the homes in London were cheaper than buying apartments in Mumbai at that time. And I also saw that public transport was so comfortable that we didn't need to worry about having to learn driving and getting a driving license. So these are all like synchronistic happenings that just kept lining up because I walked through this portal of spontaneity and continuity. I experienced my brilliance compounding. The third impact that occurs is emotional stability. You know, it was interesting when I tune in and I get the third impact is emotional stability. I'm like, you know, spontaneity in itself is like an emotional high. How can it be emotional stability? It's the combo, the combination of spontaneity and continuity. Spontaneity, you made the decision and you're now following it through. That's emotional stability. What is emotional stability an indicator of? It is an indicator of your ability to remain stationed in stillness. And what does it actually mean? You don't abandon action when emotions fluctuate. You do not abandon actions when emotions fluctuate. And what this enables is feelings. How you feel inform. They don't derail you. I remember, going back to my move from Saudi Arabia to London, and I remember the day coming back from having had this completely unexpected and somewhat overwhelming experience with the recruiting agent. I come back and I was staying with some relatives of my in-laws. I come back and I shared with them what had happened and the amount of money that was being offered. And I remember the the guy who was the patriarch of the house said to me, well, let's see if they actually give you an offer in writing to that effect, because this is a very high salary for someone who's just starting out in London. I said, okay. And my immediate reaction was very deflating, you know, that, oh, I thought it was such a magical place, London, and all of these opportunities that were there. I felt deflated. And then I shared with my husband about what had happened. And he says, oh, okay, this sounds really interesting, but would there be jobs for me as well? Because I don't want to be, living in a household where you become the bread earner. And already I was deflated. And then this comment comes in. And remember, I'd already experienced a little bit of domestic violence with him in Saudi Arabia. So there was, I and I, that little bit of that jolt actually did not dissuade me. It did not derail me. I decided to the next day to call the recruiting agent and say, we are seriously considering moving to London. And what will enable me to make that choice is if you feel you can give me these offers that you're saying to me in writing. So I understand what are these offers for? What does the job actually entail? So I was actually quite straight with them. I did get the offers in writing. I got 3 offers in writing. And that's when, the patriarch said, okay, this is serious. It may simply be that you are in an industry and you have skills that they require in London, but they don't have. And you're coming in with those skills from Saudi Arabia and India, because I worked for one of the best Indian companies which specialized in computer consultancy. TCS is what I worked with. So that's when he said that, okay, there is something quite unique and distinctive in your experience, which is why they're offering you this. So it is for real. You guys really ought to wind up and come here as soon as you can. That is only because feelings informed me, they didn't derail me. And why does this matter? Why is it important to feel your feelings and allow yourself to be informed, not derailed? It matters because mastery requires a steadiness without suppression. And it's a perfect time for us to be doing this, opening up this portal of spontaneity and continuity after we've done sovereignty and stillness. So we already have the tools to return back to that state of stillness. And stillness is different than steadiness. To be able to operate continually in your mastery and not suppress it, which is often a function of reaction, requires steadiness. And that's why this particular impact matters. Emotional stability. I'll just go through the next one, and then we can have a little bit of a discussion if we require it. The fourth impact is aliveness without burnout. What it means is continuity is fueled by freshness, not pressure. Where it becomes a drag is if you feel pressured to keep going and keep going and keep going. Spontaneity, gives that jolt of vibrancy. And that's why it is a fuel for seeing things through. By itself, continuity can become pressuresome. I mean, because there's so much involved actually in relocating from one country to another. And there are more than enough people around you, who will have their opinions around it. And if you get into the stop, start yourself, you're already starting to feel the burden. And that freshness that is completely possible for anybody choosing a relocation gets lost, and you start feeling pressured. It is so easy for us as we are, working through our relocation. It is so easy for any of us to start blaming the other if we feel pressured. We are doing it to support you, Sai. We're doing it for you to, feel that you're retiring in a magical place. I mean, what's the point in playing that ball throwing? Not even worth it. But actually allowing our emotions to express themselves and keeping moving forward with steadiness, every moment feels alive. Like yesterday, I was having a discussion with my son, and I said, "Well, how are you doing? How are things occurring for you in business?" And he says, "I just want to go. I just want to go. I don't really feel every Burj Khalifa show that I see in front of my balcony is like, oh no, not another one." I said, "My gosh, you're making your relocation feel burdensome. You've already made the choice. Now just take the next step next." The bottom line is we could easily leave anytime. We could. because the house we've taken is available. It's empty. So we could. And we have a family wedding that we are going to stay in Dubai for. And how fortunate that we have our homes, to be able to be in this place. Everybody else is coming from different parts of the world for a few days. So let's just really experience this amazing magic of Dubai. Let's create and co-create the wonderment that we are going to anchor as a foundation when we move as a family to Chiang Mai, because Dubai allows you to anchor stuff at a foundation level. Whatever it is that you want, that's its innate vibe. So let's use it for where. So I mean, it was like, okay, he got back into aliveness, but he was presencing himself to that experience of the go 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 burnout energy, which also exists in Dubai. That's true. But if you can make it mean burnout, you can also make it mean vibrant, vitality and experience aliveness. So continuity is keep taking that next step next, not one step at a time. Surge of spontaneity. Okay, now let's see how this pans out. No, you'll have to work hard to create another surge of spontaneity. But the moment you get that surge of spontaneity, you make the decision, you make that choice, start taking the next step next. That's the power hose, if you like, of continuity. And that it is that combination that gets fueled by freshness and keeps pressure at bay. So, what it enables is sustained energy without exhaustion. And I would say sustained vitality without exhaustion. And why it matters? It matters because any time you experience burnout is continuity without spontaneity. And spontaneity can be activated by you. You don't have to wait for something else out there for you to be spontaneous. You can activate it yourself. David, Helene, any things that are showing up for you that you would like to share or bring up at this point?
Well, you want to say anything? What I was thinking is that you really avoid when you're into continuity. You're really avoiding like self-conflict. Wait, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than self-conflict.
Yeah.
Then if you make a decision, you're ready to move forward with the decision. But then, a little voice comes and says, well, you sure you want to do this? And, all this stuff. And that really is exactly what you're saying here. And what we were saying before about confidence, you feel like you have the confidence to move on and
to trust
honor and trust.
Yeah.
What you're
Yeah.
Especially if you have a few people involved and this one has their question about this and this one's questioning about that, so everybody has their own and you in a family with so many people, and everybody has friends and in Dubai, and this one, everybody has their own agenda and their own thing, so that can be quite a task. So you're holding down you're centering that whole
anchoring
that whole what's the word, process of thinking, the flow of thinking. Anchoring. Yeah.
I mean, it was interesting, when we were in Chiang Mai, I had very, very strong spirit guidance, which was and we'd see at that point, we had seen like 14 different homes, you know. Spirit guidance to me was everything will come together once you lock in the house. And we could have chosen at least 3 out of the 14 homes we had seen. And spirit guidance was not yet, the one you want is to come. And there we were traveling to this other place, which is supposed to be the home that was to come. And my son says, look, guys, this is like the most expensive home that we are going to be seeing in Chiang Mai. Do not get attracted to it because you're just going to see it just to see that a house like this is even possible, you know. But do not get tempted. Do not get tempted. Okay, fine, fine. So me and Jill are like, okay, we are like, okay, we are just going indulging ourselves here. And we go there, and it is my son who falls completely in love with it. He was like, no, we're not going anywhere else. We're taking this one. And we're like sitting on the sofa. I'll share a photo which my daughter-in-law just took. And that was the first time we go there. We're just sitting on the sofa, and I'm like trying to be very serious about we are not supposed to be tempted to this one. And my son is completely in love with this place, you know. And then it was like, okay, how are we going to do it? And he did all the numbers and the math and everything. And he says, okay, I'm going to make this offer. And then it was like, you can't you can't negotiate to such a large extent when we are only going to be renting this place from April. We're talking about the beginning of January here, you know. There's some room to negotiate if you are going to pay upfront and uh, start the rental from February onwards. And then I was like, why am I allowing my mind to come up with all this stuff? I don't need to accept it. Okay, these thoughts have come. I release them. And if this is the place for us, everything will turn out. It was amazing. I mean, he did negotiate. We got it at a price that was actually even better than the price that we were offering him. We got all of the furnishings that we wanted. The guy has agreed to all of it, and he was fine for us to start on the 10th of November. Not only that, yesterday he sends us photographs of like he's actually building our beds, like in the carpentry workshop where our beds are actually being built. It's not an IKEA purchase. And he says, since I have the time to do it in February and March, I'm just thought I'll give you the kind of beds that I would use. So it's interesting how it's panning out. And I think it's really because we just kept going. That this portal, the combination of the two is the power that we're talking about. And that's why it's being introduced now as a portal in the age of brilliance. So let's continue.
Just allow the flow to happen.
Yeah. Take the next step next.
It's so important,
Yeah.
Something that sometimes you have to back into things, if this feels so good and just trust that your abilities, your confidence in yourself, that spirit always has your back. And it's something so powerful like that.
Yeah.
Just flow with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So let's look at the fifth impact of spontaneity with continuity. And, just watch the words I'm using. The impact is integrity of action. Integrity of action. Sometimes we have an aha, and it really impacts us deeply. And then we move forward, with life. And that is dishonoring something that moved through us. When you have that integrity of action, something moved you and you act on it, you're honoring yourself. You're honoring your action. When you honor your action, the action that you take is completely in integrity. And what does it do when you have integrity of action? It keeps you solid and still. You're in your sovereignty. That sovereignty piece is a given when you have that integrity of action. When you do something because you have to, because you need to, because you believe you should, integrity of action is missing. If you go into over perfectionism, like overthinking to get this perfect, 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 integrity of action is missing. You have integrity of planning, so the results don't happen. Whatever you may be engaged in, if integrity of action is not there, the result does not get delivered. When you honor what moves through you, something that has moved you, is moving through you, what that enables is your word becomes energetically clean. And why does that matter? When your word is energetically clean, the instruction to the universe are clear, delivery occurs, results guaranteed. Integrity is power that does not leak, cannot leak, cannot be damaged or ruptured. And you are in your divine power when you are operating as the creator that you are. Very powerful impact, integrity of action. And that's why procrastination feels so awful. Like I often say, and I have a book also called Behave or Be Have. Be and you have, doing flows. We are doing beings. Even if you just simply be, you're doing, breathing. So doing happens anyway. But if something is really moved through you, get that integrity of action. So your word is crisp, clear, and it starts to give you your world, a world that is what you intended to experience. It's a big one. We could have just one session completely on this alone. But today, it is about opening up this portal. And we have to go through at least 6, possibly 8 of these impacts for the portal to be opened from today itself. So I'm going to continue to the 6th one, which is deepened listening. Ananta, you've done the masterminds with me, and the importance I place on listening. Deepened listening is what it means is each action keeps you open to the next signal. Deepened listening is listening, to you. Listening to the nuances that are showing up. I mean, there's a very interesting experience that I've been noticing, I'm like with my grandkids. So now I'm talking about the little one, Emilio. We have a friend visiting right now, and she has a 2-year-old. And she's been visiting us. This is like, I think, a 10th or 11th visit to Dubai from Berlin. So, she's in the last 3 years, the last 2 years, she's been here from the time that little Paolo was a tiny little baby, you know. Now he's 2. And so as a mother, he's not allowed candy, and he's also not allowed to watch stuff on iPad and things like that. So the little one is very, very sensitive to these things and truly appreciates that this baby is not allowed candy. Now he's 4, so he is now allowed to have candy. And he is allowed to watch his iPad at designated times. And it's just so cute, I think, he comes, he starts crying. Like everything seems to be fine, they're playing, and he starts crying. And you know how the crying sounds different based on what your child wants. This is like a really heartfelt crying, like a deep, um, like felt like it was a deep hurt crying type thing. So immediately, Jill goes in there, my daughter-in-law, and I'm like, I'm not interfering, but I'm like very keen to know what's happening. And she says, "What happened? What happened? What happened?" And he says, "You come here. You come here. I cannot tell you here. You come here." So he takes his mom out, and he said, "I really, really want to have my candy that you've given me, but I cannot have it because Paolo cannot have candy. I cannot have it in front of him." And he says, "I really want to be by myself so I can have the candy and somebody can be with Paolo so he doesn't come looking for me." And I was like, wow, this is like deep listening. Um, and it was interesting how he came up with that solution as well, that somebody just needs to be with Paolo so he doesn't feel alone. Because the older one's eating his candy and he's watching his iPad and he's like, he's not so sensitive to these things. But this little one really practices deepened listening. And he takes action. I used to wonder how this 4-year-old has no FOMO. Like nothing. He's like his friends can be doing whatever. When he's focused on something, he's focused on that. He'll do that. When that is finished, he will take the next action. And it was like, wow, this is so different. But I think it's because he practices deepened listening. So it was interesting to see that in action. He's open to the next signal. And when you are enabled in action and you're keeping yourself open to the next signal, what it enables is your intuitive connection is enabled and your inner guidance sharpens. And why does it matter to operate from that inner guidance? Because it starts to get your listening to mature. And the more mature that deep listening is, the more consistency you will find in the results you accomplish. Very, very powerful and very impactful. When I do the masterminds, I often begin, in fact, any immersion I do, I begin with listening because I know it is the power tool for impactful, deeply connecting communications. And what I'm sharing here is what enables that. And listening of any kind is you are in complete control. You are the one that directs, controls, and decides how you listen. And as you make that choice consciously, you are stationed in a space of dignity. When you listen without the desire to having to react, and you're able to combine listening with stillness, and you're able to then take action, honoring the power that lies within continuity, you are living, breathing, walking, running, leapfrogging your brilliance with all of the support system of the age of brilliance that is innate and inherent in the age of brilliance. I'm going to stop here today and allow you to conclude the session, David and Helene.
So we have a song, not that we wrote, that was written many years ago. It's called "Listen." Rather than going into each verse, but it's basically about listening to nature, and it's about listening to each other, and the trees, more than anything, which is my favorite verse, is listen to the voice from within. When you feel it in your heart, you're going to win. But it's all about listening and
deep listening.
Deep listening.
Yes, awesome. What a perfect thing to complete on.
Yes.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. I always love doing these transmissions. Great way to start the weekend. So thank you. Namaste.
Thank you, Minna. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Bye-bye.